Welcome to this video on predictive modeling. So today we will be discussing about linear regression. The topics to be covered is what is linear regression, its cost function, how to optimize the parameters for this linear regression using gradient descent, how to evaluate our model's performance using R squared, and different evaluation matrices for linear regression. So for the very first question is, what is linear regression? Just take an example that you have a data set between height and weight. This graph represents the x-axis represents the height in centimeters, the y-axis represents the weight in kilogram, and this black dot represents the data points. Suppose someone asks you, like, what can be the weight of a person whose height is around 165 centimeters? It's 165 centimeters. So what you will do here? How can you solve this problem, and how can you tell what can be the weight of that person? So you need to find something based on these data points. So what you will do, you will try to best fit a line which generalizes these data points very well. Okay. So suppose you find out that this line best represents or best generalizes the data sets. And so using this equation of this line, you can find out the corresponding value of weight for this 165 centimeter height. And then you can say that, yeah, for this particular height, the weight of a person should be around 70 kg. So this is what actually a linear regression tries to do. It fits a best possible line to the data set uh, to generalize it. Okay. And then we can use this line for predicting our output variables. So first of all, it becomes a problem of supervised learning. Why supervised learning? Because here we are provided with exact values of the weights corresponding to the heights. Okay, so this is a problem of supervised learning. Also, it is a regression problem. Why regression problem? Because weight is a real valued thing. Okay, real valued number. Okay, because it can take any value from 0 to say 100 kg. So it becomes a supervised learning problem and a regression problem. So before going depth into the linear regression thing, let us define some important terminologies. So before that, take an example like this is the data set that we are using, height and weight. So how do you represent a linear regression? You represent it using an equation of a line. So you can say y is equal to theta naught plus theta 1 into x is the equation of the line that we are using. Here, theta naught represents the intercept, theta 1 represents the slope, the x is the independent feature or independent variable. Here, this x is represented by this height. This height is represented by this x. And there is a difference between these two values of y, like the one that is given into this data set, that is also weight, and the one that you are calculating or predicting uses this equation. Because this one, using this equation, this is the predicted value. And the one that is provided in the data set, that is the actual value. So you can say y is the target variable. And here in this problem, it is equal to this weight and represents the number of the sample. In this problem, you can say it is equal to 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So as we have defined that we can use this equation for predicting which line we want to fit. We can see that it depends on the theta naught and theta 1. So different combinations of theta 1 and theta naught will give you different type of lines. So here you can say that there are a lot of number of lines that can fit this data points. Okay, so this orange one is one line, this green one is another line, and similarly there can be different pairs of theta naught and theta 1 which can pass through these points. Okay, so it's not just about this theta naught and theta 1. Okay, there can be like plus theta 2 into x or some different features, say apart from this height. Okay, you are also using a's. Okay, so there can be theta 2 plus a's. Okay, so that is also theta 2 into a's. Sorry, so that is also a equation of the line. But for simplicity, we will be using a single variable here. So say multiple number of lines that can pass through this data set. So the problem is, like, how will we choose? How will we know that which line best represents this data set, or which line best generalizes this data set? So how do we choose the best line? So what can we do? We need to choose theta naught and theta 1 such that the predicted value of y that we calculate from using this equation of the line, this is as close as possible to the actual value of y. That means it best mimics the actual values of y. So see in this graph, this red line represents the predicted value of y. This y-axis represents the actual value of y. This x-axis represents the feature line, and these blue dots represents the data points. So this particular value of xi feature, if you want to predict what is the output, then you will try to find out the value corresponding to this line, corresponding to this x at this line, red line. Okay, and suppose it comes to be this y1 corresponding to this red line, but the actual value is corresponding to this blue dot. Okay, that comes to be equal to this y2, say. So there is a difference between y2 and the y1. That means there is a difference between the actual value and the one that you predicted. So this difference is called the error. Okay, so similarly, for all these different data points, you can say that the vertical distance between these blue points and the red line will represent the error. Okay, and how do we represent this error? We represent it using squared error. That is, we can find out the difference between the predicted value and the actual value and take a square of it. Why square? Because we want some positive summation of some positive values. If we do not square it, or if we do not take a mode of it, so what will happen? Suppose the points that are above this line will give you positive error. This point below this line will give you negative error. And when you try to just add them, they will nullify each other. Okay, so there are two errors which should add actually, but they will nullify each other. So that's why we are choosing here squared error term. And this squared error will represent a cost function. This is actually the cost function that we want to minimize. So we want to minimize the squared error. Okay, so if we try to write this equation mathematically, we can use the equation for this y predicted thing. That is, here in the last line, we can see that theta naught plus theta 1 into x minus y actual, and take whole square and calculate this value for each and every point and sum it up. Okay, sum it up. Also, empirically, it has been found that if we multiply this value with 1 by 2n, it will reduce the computation cost. So now finally, you can say that the cost function represented by j is equal to 1 by 2n multiplied by summation of theta naught plus theta 1 into x minus y actual whole square. So what we actually want to do is we want to find out theta naught and theta 1 such that the cost function is minimum. So let us take an example like how to calculate this cost function. Suppose this graph, this cross thing, black cross represents our data set. That means x is equal to 1, y is equal to 1, x is equal to 2, y is equal to 2, and x is equal to 3, y is equal to 3. Now we want to best fit a line. So what we can do is, like, suppose initially for simplicity, we take theta naught is equal to 0. Okay, and we can try different values of theta 1s and try to find out which one gives us the minimum value. Like for, say, we took theta 1 is equal to 2 and calculated the value of the cost function j using this theta 1. Okay, and the value comes to be 2.33. Okay, similarly, for theta 1, the value of the cost function comes to be 0. And for theta 1 is equal to 0.5, the value of the cost function comes to be 0.58. Similarly, you can try different values of theta and try to plot it. Okay, and you will find that it gives you sorry, it actually gives you a parabola kind of pattern. Okay, and that is also understood from this equation of the cost function. Okay, so our goal is to reach to the bottom of this parabola. That means reach to the minimum value of the parabola. Okay, but this way of choosing the thetas randomly and calculating each and every uh, uh, calculating cost function for these different values of theta is very hectic. Okay, so we need to think about different algorithm that can calculate this theta naught and theta 1. Okay, and here comes the gradient descent algorithm. So suppose our predicted value of y is represented by theta naught plus theta 1 into x. What gradient descent tries to do is it tries to find out theta naught and theta 1 using gradients. So say j is equal to this equation represents the cost function. And what our goal is to minimize theta naught and theta. Our goal is to minimize this value of j using theta naught and theta 1. Okay, yeah, that means we need to find theta naught and theta 1 so that the value of j is minimum. So from your math days, if you remember, this is a simple problem of optimization where you can solve this problem using partial differentiation. So you need to take partial differentiation with respect to the variables that you want to minimize for. Like take partial differentiation of j with respect to theta naught and partial differentiation of j with respect to theta 1. And these are the equation of this partial differentiation. Okay, so these partial differentiations are called gradients with respect to theta naught and theta 1 respectively. So let us see what does this partial differentiation look like and how does it actually work. So in this graph, you can see like say this y value represents the cost function and this x value represents theta naught. Okay, and initially you have chosen some theta naught that is given by the rightmost value of rightmost dot. Okay, so the corresponding value at the x-axis will represent the initial value of theta naught. And see, if you try to find out the partial differentiation at this point, that means you calculate the gradient at this point that is actually equal to the slope of uh, this curve at this point. That slope comes to be the positive. But if the initial guess of the theta naught say it was on the left side, the slope would have been negative. So suppose we want to update our theta to some optimum values. Okay, so what you do, like you use this equation, theta naught is equal to theta naught minus this gradient. So if our initial guess is on the right side, like our theta is on the right side, so this gradient will be positive. And from this equation, we can see like theta naught is equal to theta naught minus some positive value. So the value of the theta naught will be updated and will come to the left side. That means it will approach towards minimum. Similarly, at this point also, if you try to take a gradient, that will also come to be positive. Okay, and again, if you try to update the theta naught, that will come to be theta naught minus some positive value, and that will also go to the left side. That means towards the minimum. Okay, so with time, this gradient will help you approach towards minimum. And what if the theta is on the left side? So suppose here the gradient will be negative. Okay, so if you use this equation to update our theta, so theta naught is equal to theta naught minus some negative value. Okay, so we can say the value will be increasing. That means we will move towards right. That means we will move towards the minimum. So anyway, wherever our theta is, using this gradient descent approach, okay, we can approach towards the minimum. Also, we can notice one thing, like the more closer we move towards this minimum, the more flatter the slope will become. And that means the value of the gradient will become smaller and smaller. That means as we move towards this minimum value, the rate of change in this theta will become smaller. I mean, it will slow down. So how to proceed? So we can calculate these, we can take an initial values of theta naught and theta 1. try to find out the gradients at this theta naught and theta 1 and update these gradients, update this gradient, update this theta naught and theta 1 using these gradients. Again, use this theta naught and theta 1 to predict values of y and find out the coast function. Okay, after again finding out this coast function, you can compare this coast function to the minimum value that you want. Say if you want some minimum value is equal to 0.05, like if you are approaching it. If it is more than that, or you can take some other conditions also that we'll be discussing later. So if the coast function satisfy this condition, then we will stop our algorithm, the loop that we are running. Otherwise, we will continue and again try to minimize this coast function using gradient descent. Like again, we will find out this theta naught and theta 1 using gradients. Okay. So the point here to be noted is update all the thetas simultaneously and then calculate the coast function and then move towards the optimization. It is not allowed, like if you calculate this theta naught and then calculate this y predicted and the coast function, and then you try to find out the theta 1 value and then update again the coast function. No, this is not allowed. This is a sequential process. You need to remember this step. Like first of all, you need to calculate the gradients for the initial values of thetas that you are using. Then update these values of thetas. Again, calculate the predicted values of y and then the coast function. Again, calculate the gradients and repeat the cycle until the coast function stops decreasing, or you can say it reaches some minimum value. Okay, so till here, what we have found is like after this coast function and the gradients descent algorithm, now we have optimized our algorithm and we have find out what is the value of theta naught and what is the value of theta 1. Okay, so now we can write the equation of the line that will be used for the prediction. Okay, so we have developed our model for prediction. Now we need to evaluate our model's performance. Okay, and for that we used R squared algorithm. Okay, and what is R squared? It is actually the ratio of squared sum of regression to squared sum of total variance. Here we can see on the equation on the right side that on the upper side it is y cap minus y bar whole square. So y cap here represents the predicted value of y, and y bar represents the mean of the actual values of y. Okay, so taking difference of the mean value of actual y's with the predicted y's and taking a square of it and then summing it up for all the data points, and in the bottom side it is the difference between the actual value of y minus mean of the actual values and the whole square and sum it up for all the data points. So this equation you can use to calculate the R squared. Okay, so SSR is squared sum of regression and SST is squared sum of total variance. So you can use another equation to calculate this R squared value, and that is 1 minus SSE, that is sum of squared error to the SST. SST, I just told you, like this bottom part will remain the same. Okay, that is difference between y actual minus mean value of y actuals whole square and the summation for all the data points. But the sum of squared error is something that we have discussed earlier in the earlier slides, that is the difference between predicted values of y minus actual values of y and take square of it and sum it up for all the data points. Okay, so this is how you can calculate the R square. Suppose you calculated all the values correctly, like for all the points the predicted value of y and y actual is same, so this SSC will become 0. Okay, and the value of R square becomes equal to 1. So let us see with the example how to calculate this R square. Okay, so see, this is y actual, this is y predicted that you have predicted, and you need to take the difference between y predicted and the y actual. Sorry. Now, okay. So here what you can do is like take the difference between y predicted and y actual. Sorry. That is 1 minus 0, that is 1, and take a square, that is 1. 2 minus 1, 1, square of it 1. 3 minus 2, 1, square of it 1. 4 minus 3, 1, square of it 1. And 4 similarly, 5 minus 4, 1, and square of it is 1. So this is y predicted minus y actual. Okay. And now for calculating the SSE, you need to sum all the values, and that comes equal to 5. And for predicting SST, you need to find out the y mean, that means the mean of all the actual values minus y actual, and take a square of it. That means the mean of the actual value here is 2, and you can take difference with the y actual, that is 2 minus 0 equal to 2, and the square of it 4. 2 minus 1, that is 1, square of it 1. 2 minus 2 equal to 0, square of it 0. 2 minus 3, that is minus 1, square of it 1. And 2 minus 4, that is 2, square is 4. And then sum it up. That becomes SST, that is equal to 10. Okay. Then you can calculate r square is equal to 1 minus 5 by 10, that is equal to 0.5. Okay. So the range of the r squared value is between 0 to 1. Okay. So let us see graphically what it actually represents. Okay. So r square value actually represents how close the data points are to the fitted line. Okay. So in the left side graph, you can say the data points are far away from these fitted lines compared to the data points in the right side. Here in the right side, we can see that the data points are very close to the fitted line. Okay. So say for this left side of data, the r value is r1, and for the right side of the data, the r squared value is r2. So the r2 value is always greater than the r1 value. Also, one thing you need to remember is like the more number of data we have, the more number of points that are closer to this line will come, and there's always the r squared value will increase. Okay, so this is the drawback of the r squared value. So now we have calculated, find out our model. We have evaluated it, but it is always good to evaluate our model on the data set that it has never seen to. Okay, so there are different evaluation matrices, and one of the most important matrices is the root mean squared error. And this is a very simple matrix in which what you do, it is, let us first define this MSE, mean squared error, and that is take the difference between the actual and the predicted value, square of it, sum it of all for all the data points, and take the average of it. This becomes the mean squared error. You can also use another way, that is mean absolute error, and that is also difference between the predicted value and the actual value, and take an average of it. Okay, root mean square error is actually the square root of the mean square error. So root mean square error is most commonly used evaluation matrix on the non-data for this linear regression algorithm. So here you can see how can we calculate. Like here is the actual value, here is the predicted value. Take difference like 2 minus 1, that is minus 1, 2 minus 0, that is 2, 3 minus 1, that is 2, 4 minus 5, that is minus 1. And that is the difference that you calculated, like y actual minus y predicted. Then for squared error, what you can do is take a square of it, that is minus 1 square 1, 2 square 4, 2 square 4, 2 minus 1 square 1. That is, and the summation of this becomes equal to 10. Okay. And now for finding the mean of a squared error, you need to define with the number of points. Like here it is 4. So mean squared error becomes 10 divided by 4. Root mean square is the square root of this mean squared error, that is 5 by 2. Also, keep in mind, the lower the root mean square is, the better the model is. Okay, so whenever we compare two different models, if we see that the root mean square error for one model is smaller compared to the other, we can say that the model with a smaller root mean square is better compared to the other one. So this is it for the theoretical portion of the linear regression. In the next lecture, we will be discussing about the implementation part of it. Thank you.